November 20th, 1917. Hundreds of British tanks roll through Cambrai, France. Machine guns tear through infantry. German artillery shells flip tanks and bury men alive under them. By the end of the day, tens of thousands of troops will be dead. But let's change one thing. Instead of clunky Mark IV tanks rolling over the war-torn landscape comes something no one understands. An M1A2 Abrams main battle tank, a 70-ton giant dropped into the battlefield nearly 75 years too soon. Gas turbine engines screaming like a jet, armor forged from composites and depleted uranium, and a 120mm smoothbore gun that can obliterate anything in its path. So what happens when a single modern tank, backed by nearly a century of military advancement, goes head-to-head with World War I era Germany? Is it enough to change history? Will it make an impact at all? Or is it just one tank against the military might of a country? First, let's take a look at what we just sent over 100 years back in time to kill the parents of Nazis. The M1A2 Abrams is powered by a 1,500 horsepower gas turbine engine, the kind you'd normally find on a jet aircraft. This monster drinks jet fuel, diesel, or even regular gasoline if it has to. It can hit speeds over 40 miles per hour, which is absurd compared to World War I tanks that struggled to crawl faster than a jogging man. Its armor is a classified blend of composites and depleted uranium, shrugging off most modern anti-tank weapons, let alone the puny shells of 1917. And then there's the firepower. Its primary weapon is the M256 120mm smoothbore cannon, firing depleted uranium or tungsten sabot rounds at hypersonic speed. Against a Mark IV tank, those shells would slice through the armor like a hot knife through butter. Add a coaxial 7.62mm machine gun and a roof-mounted 50 caliber M2 Browning, and the Abrams is basically a mobile apocalypse. But Germany isn't about to make this easy. At Cambrai, the Germans had deep defensive lines, trenches reinforced with concrete bunkers, belts of barbed wire, and heavy machine guns waiting to mow down advancing infantry. Artillery batteries sat behind the lines, ready to rain hell on any target. Their infantry carried Mauser rifles and potato masher grenades, while field guns and howitzers provided devastating firepower. Against the British Mark IV, these defenses were brutal, but against an Abrams, things get interesting. 6:20 a.m. The first German machine gunners opened fire, stitching lines of bullets across the advancing British infantry. In the historical battle, entire platoons were wiped out in seconds. But today, a thunderous crack rips through the air. The Abrams fires its first high-explosive shell. A concrete bunker disintegrates in an instant, wooden beams and stone blocks erupting into the sky. Machine gunners who once commanded no man's land are vaporized in a single strike. The tank switches targets. A German strongpoint hidden behind sandbags and barbed wire vanishes in a second blast. Troops nearby are thrown into the air by the shockwave. The ground shakes like an earthquake. Soldiers accustomed to the slow, clumsy bark of 6-pounder guns have no frame of reference for the raw violence of a 120mm shell. 6:45 a.m. German officers scrambled to deploy field artillery. The 77mm FK-96NA gun had been the backbone of German defenses, deadly against British tanks. Crews swing their cannons toward the Abrams and open fire. Shells scream across the field and smash into its armor, but the impact is meaningless. Designed to withstand modern sabot rounds traveling at twice the speed, the Abrams composite armor shrugs off World War I steel like pebbles against a battleship, and the tank doesn't even slow down. The Abrams responds. A single round of armor-piercing ammunition smashes into the German gun position, turning cannon and crew into a fireball. Where British tanks might take hours to break through artillery defenses, the Abrams can eliminate them in seconds. Infantry rushed forward, behind the Abrams. In the real battle, British troops often had to clear trenches by hand, fighting room by room with grenades and bayonets. Now the Abrams coaxial machine gun rakes the line, spraying thousands of rounds per minute. Trenches collapse under continuous fire. German troops, who once stood their ground even against tanks, break and scatter in panic. Horses bolt from the noise, carts overturn, and officers scream for order that never comes. 7:30 a.m. The Abrams rolls into the heart of the German defensive line. Normally, this would take British forces most of the day. Now, the ground shakes as its treads grind through barbed wire, crush trench walls, and roll straight over machine gun nests. Soldiers trapped in dugouts find themselves buried alive as the tank passes overhead. 8 a.m., German reinforcements arrive. Squadrons of stormtroopers, the elite assault troops of the Kaiser's army, charged to plug the breakthrough. These men had been feared across Europe, trained in infiltration, equipped with flamethrowers and grenades. Against British tanks, they were often decisive, but against the Abrams, it's not that simple. Grenade shrapnel bounces off the armor as flamethrowers splash harmless fire across steel plating that won't buckle to anything less than 1500 degrees Celsius. And with every turret rotation, another stormtrooper squad disappears in a burst of machine gun fire. German commanders try their last resort: heavy artillery. Massive howitzers fire from miles behind the lines. Shells the size of bathtubs arc through the sky and smash into the ground around the Abrams. One detonates just a few feet away, tossing mud and metal high into the air. But the Abrams grinds forward through the smoke. Its suspension absorbs the impact and its armor holds firm. Where a Mark IV would have been ripped apart, the Abrams keeps moving. 9 a.m. The British breakthrough at Cambrai has already surpassed anything achieved historically. Trenches that once cost thousands of lives to capture are gone in under 3 hours. German positions crumble under relentless shell fire. The Abrams uses its 50 caliber roof-mounted machine gun to mow down fleeing troops, scattering entire companies. But we do have a problem. The Abrams is an apex predator, but it's also a hungry one. Its gas turbine engine burns fuel at a rate unthinkable in 1917. 60 gallons an hour, and it only carries enough for about 250 miles under modern logistics. Here, there are no supply trucks, no JP-8 fuel, no mechanics trained to handle its engine. The British refuel their Mark IVs with gasoline refined from coal. That fuel, full of impurities, would destroy the Abrams turbines in literal minutes. The tank still fights, but the gauge runs low. Every shell fired, every yard crossed, every engine roar drains its reserves. Officers can already see the smoke thinning, the engines scream softening. The Abrams clears another bunker line, but the end is near. Fuel is almost gone, and ammunition is running low. The battlefield is littered with burning strongpoints and shattered artillery, and the German defense is collapsing. 11:30 a.m. The engine sputters, the treads slow, and the Abrams sits still, an immovable steel fortress in the mud of France. British troops swarm around it, awestruck. Mechanics pry at its armor, finding materials decades ahead of their time. They could refuel it, but not with jet fuel. They can't repair it, and most importantly, they can't reproduce the shells that just changed the face of battle. It might run again, but without ammunition, it would be reduced to armored ground transport. For a few hours at Cambrai, the Abrams was unstoppable. It dominated while on the battlefield, saved thousands of British lives, and terrified remaining German troops into retreat. It was a success, but it could not last. It won a battle, not a war. And while it tormented the Germans for a morning, its impact ended as soon as the engine died. At the end of the day, World War I would rage on at a scale the Abrams couldn't really make much of a difference in. Or what do you think would happen? And if you're curious what would happen if an F-22 Raptor fought in World War I, check out the video on the screen now. Thanks for watching.